Hello, and welcome to Sobercast, where we provide AA speaker meetings and workshops in podcast format. We're an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us be self-supporting by visiting Sobercast.com, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 into our virtual basket. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mark, Steve, and Nigel. I'd now like to introduce tonight's final speaker, it's Amy.
Hi, my name's Amy Malcollet. And thanks for asking me to share, and congratulations, Wayne. And I was looking forward to, hearing Wayne's birthday share. I hadn't heard him share, and then I get the text and share in 25 minutes Friday. And I think, the big one. And all day I've been self-centred about it. Work's annoyed me, finishing late. I'm thinking, don't they know I've got a bloody share tonight? I just got a disco, and she's like, don't know I've got a share tonight. All day, I don't know, and then I get here and I just think, all that is crap. Do you know what I mean? I'm just sharing my experience to try and help the newcomer, like people did when I got here. Do you know what I mean? And just to get a better perspective of it. And no one else understands me and knows me like the people in my home group. And it is a privilege to be sharing up here this evening. And if there's anyone new or visiting or, coming back again, welcome. This is my home group. The people in here shared a message of recovery to me. They showed me what alcoholism is and, how to recover from it. And, when I got here, I was 17 and, I can remember my first meeting of this group on a Tuesday night, and it was, Pam in the Deja the Raj actual birthday, and she had like a cake at the meeting, and it was all like tea through the hatch, but there was just something about the meeting, like before the meeting actually started, everyone was friendly. I didn't want to talk to anyone, do you know what I mean? I was just there, my head was down, I just hated social situations. I didn't know whether I was an alcoholic or not, but I just knew that I couldn't have carried on like that. I had constant suicide thoughts. I just screwed my life up so bad. And here I was, you know what I mean, at Alcoholics Anonymous. It felt like it just couldn't have got any worse. And, that was the start of something. Do you know what I mean? That was, I heard there, about alcoholism, and I could identify completely, and, I started off drinking like all of my other friends. We were in the park with some cider, and I just absolutely loved the effect it had on me. I was always a bit shy, nervous, so, socially awkward, but, a few bottles of cider, do you know what I mean? I was just having the time of my life. I didn't care what people thought of me. I talked to the boys I fancied. I was just loved what it did for me, and I was obsessed with it from the start. I would plan my next drink like Monday morning. How are we going to get the money? Who's going to get it? And I'd just be obsessed with getting to the weekend, getting out and drinking with my friends. And, it quickly progressed from that to, consequences, things I'd done with disgusting, antisocial, waking up in the morning with that awful feeling of dread. And my friends had this pact where they would all discuss what had happened the night before, just get it out in the open. And I just didn't want to know. Do you know what I mean? I just did not want to know what had happened the night before. And I would just try different things to make me feel better, because being sober was just uncomfortable. I'd hate to go anywhere on my own. I just couldn't deal with my emotions. I just couldn't live life. Everything would just tip me over the edge. You know what I mean? It wouldn't take a lot, and I would just be in like a suicidal, depressive state. And, I thought if I could just get the right boyfriend, if I could just lose some weight, if I could just have these friends this close, you know what I mean? Everything externally. I'd moved from my mum's to my dad's to my nan's background again. I was just irritable, restless and discontent. I wasn't grateful. I was just miserable. I just blamed everybody for, how I felt. And, I would just drink, do you know what I mean? Just to cope with my emotions, I think, and I would just get drunk and awful things that I would just do, discussing awful things. I would wake up and I think, that is it, I can't do that anymore. And, maybe a couple of days later, I'll just be like, well, I'll just drink inside. It's because I went out that was the problem. Do you know what I mean? And I would just end up drinking again. I just couldn't stop or control my drinking, and it just got worse. And I just got to a point where I was just like suicidal. Do you know what I mean? I just couldn't live that. My head was a mess. I was just screwed everything up. People wouldn't talk to me. It was just horrendous. And I didn't really think that I was an alcoholic because I wasn't physically addicted to alcohol. I didn't wake up in the morning with the shakes. I didn't drink in the morning. I wasn't even bloody legally old enough to buy the stuff. Do you know what I mean? I didn't think that I was an alcoholic, but I just knew that I couldn't stop drinking and I couldn't carry on the way I was. And when I come here, I heard about alcoholism, that all of that stuff didn't even matter. Do you know what I mean? It didn't matter what I drank, when I drank it. All that was just like a red herring. None of that stuff mattered. Alcoholism. Once I took that first drink, it's like for craving beyond my control, and I'll just drink and drink, and that happened every time. I'd try and go out for a couple, but it never happened. And I had no effective mental defence against that first drink. The consequences of my drinking. There was times I'd convinced myself that I'd solved all my life problems. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is it. Do you know what I mean? I have got it sorted, and it wouldn't last. Do you know what I mean? It'd be a couple of days and I would just be drinking again. Do you know what I mean? It would just be back to normal. And I used to think, like, how did that happen? I know what I'm like. Like, how does it happen? And but it's because I'm powerless over alcohol. And and what was an offer here was a solution to my alcoholism. And there was talk of God and spiritual experiences and life beyond your wildest dreams, and it all just sounded very fluffy, very lovely. Do you know what I mean? But just like, I just felt like maybe I needed something a bit more medical, a bit more something with some substance almost. But do you know what I mean? I just couldn't have been further from the truth. This has got depth and weight, and but I just didn't know that. My head was a complete mess. I'd look around the room as a newcomer, and I'd be like, I can see why you need to do it, why it works for you, and all this crap, and it was just all in my head. None of it was just real. Do you know what I mean? And I had step one, basically. Out of that desperation came a willingness to do what it took, and I got a sponsor, and and Gail sponsored me, and she told me precisely what I needed to do in order to recover. There wasn't any grey areas. Do you know what I mean? If you do this, get a big book, do your daily suggestions, get to the meeting, meet up with coffee, ring me every day, ring me at this time, exactly what to do. I didn't have to think about it. Do you know what I mean? I just had to do it, and out of that desperation, I just done exactly what she asked of me, despite what I thought and what I felt about it. I just did it, and I can honestly say, like, within a couple of weeks of just doing everything she'd asked me to do, that obsession with alcohol was gone. And I thought I might be able to stop drinking, but I would always have that in my mind, that I'd have to remind myself not to drink, or it would always be there. But that was just gone, and she took me through the 12 steps, and just what an incredible thing. I didn't have any concept of God or a higher power, and I'd been to church a few times with the brownies. You know what I mean? I can remember I just was bored. I would just clean my shoes or mess about. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't into God or anything like that, and but I didn't have to be. Do you know what I mean? All I had to do was be willing, and I'd get on my knees and pray, and that just come over time. Do you know what I mean? That relation, that belief in a high power. But I just needed a willingness to start, and step 4 was a major thing for me, because Gail gave me these list of defects of character, and I went, oh, I don't think I've got them all, and I can see I'm a bit jealous, but the rest, do you know what I mean? But she showed me how to take my inventory, and do you know what I mean? Like, I just had loads of it. Do you know what I mean? I just had loads of it, and I just wrote down everything, and I was completely honest. And I heard people sharing the meeting about they weren't honest on their step 4 and they drank, or and I just thought, I'm just too scared to go back to the life that I had. Do you know what I mean? I was just completely honest. I wrote down everything. I took my inventory. I looked at that last column of my defects of character, and it just made me realise, and take responsibility for my alcoholism. It wasn't everybody and everything else, and I shared it in my step 5, and that is like one of the single best things that's ever happened to me. Do you know what I mean? Just being completely honest with somebody and just getting it all that seedy, disgusting, embarrassing, trivial, all of it, just sharing it all with my sponsor, and she didn't really blink an eyelid. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, it was just such a big deal. But she was just like, you're an average alcoholic, put your hand up at the meeting. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like she wasn't judging me or anything, and I was just terrified of it. But it was, and afterwards, I come away and had that quiet hour, and I just felt like I'd been given a new chance at life. I didn't have to do you know what I mean? Hold my head down. Do you know what I mean? I could just look the world in its eye, and I was free from all of that. And just what an incredible thing that is for an alcoholic like me, and all that fear. Do you know what I mean? I was just so fearful of everything, just gone. And she took me through the rest of the steps and got to step 8, which was almost as hard to write as harder in some ways than my step 4 was. It was like more writing. And I still felt like some people had hurt me more than I'd hurt them. But once I did that, and they say, just take one step at a time. Don't look at the ones, but we're alcoholic, we look at the next one before we're on it. But by the time you've done one, you're ready to do the next. And I was up my step 8, and I was done it. And I'd looked at how, if that happened to me, how I would feel. And after doing that, do you know what I mean? I was ready to go and make all of my amends. It didn't matter what they had done to me. Do you know what I mean? I was willing to write my side of the street. And the big ones are my family, really. I hurt them. The people I love the most, I hurt the most. And I just can remember, I just ring them up in the middle of the night, and I'll be like, yeah, and I'll tell them everything that was wrong with them and what they'd done to me, and that I'm going to kill myself because of that. Do you know what I mean? I used to just do things like that all the time. I used to go out, and I was like 14, 15, just go out in UK to nightclubs, just go. Do you know what I mean? No one would know where I was. I was just a hella. Do you know what I mean? And I just think I just put them through a lot, and and then I was able to go and make amends for all the things that I'd done for them, all the worry I'd caused, all the hurt, all the things I'd said, all the things I'd done, and they all went, wow. Do you know what I mean? They just wanted me to just be all right and just keep doing what I was doing, and from that, from the frayed relationships I had with my family, from the alcoholic mess that was our family, over the years, I've just got the most incredible relationships with my sisters, with my brother, with my nan, with my mum. I can't say anything because she's going to listen to it, even though she's not here. But but the relationships I've got with my family are just incredible, and it's because of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's because I've got a structure and a discipline in my life, and I'm not, trapped in all that emotional turmoil. I mean, they give me resentments. I take my inventory, and we've been we all went out to Australia to stay with my brother. All of us. There was loads of us that went, and just what a although there was a resentment, do you know what I mean? And people wound me up but what an incredible thing. Do you know, we couldn't even go out for a meal together before, do you know what I mean? And just they just trust me. They don't have to worry about me. And just recently last year, they all helped me to buy my house. Do you know what I mean? What an incredible thing. I mean, they wouldn't have lent me a £5 before. Do you know what I mean? But I've just got, and that's because of Alcoholics Anonymous. Just keep trying to think of them, trying to, help them out, not trying to get what I can out of people. Do you know what I mean? Just having a different attitude with my family. And, that's just one of the things that AA has taught me. And, my sponsor got me into good habits early. And, a lot of people would know Gail 15 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were on it. Do you know what I mean? There was no straying from the road. And, and she just got me into great habits early. Extra meetings, car park meetings, service. I was always doing a talk or meeting up or doing something extra than, from like having nothing really going on in my life. And I always used to think from the Tuesday meeting to the Friday meeting seemed like such a long time when I was new. It just seemed like, oh gosh, it just seemed like a long time. But, so there was, always, just getting me into good habits early in service, and all of those things have just stood me in good stead. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're asked to share, you just say yes. If you, ring, your sponsor gives you a time, you just ring them at that time. You don't ring them 10 minutes late. Do you know what I mean? All of those things just got me into good habits early, and they may seem irrelevant when you're new. And I can remember girls saying a lot of the things to me, and I just didn't really get what she meant. But like the meaning of those things, I can see now, and like sponsoring people. It should be easy, really. Do you know what I mean? In a way, because they should be sponsorable, and just wanting to get recovery, and I can just. And in sponsorship, it is an incredible thing. Just having that one person on your side that you can just share honestly to. And I see it like at work. If someone's got a problem, they just go around talking to everyone. What should they do? Blah, 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 blah. Problem in their life, whatever. And I just feel like they just come back and they've just haven't really got any resolution for that, but they've just overshared to everyone. But I feel like I've just got this great thing where I've got a sponsor where I can just ring them up and say, this has happened, they've pissed me off, I've done this. Do you know what I mean? I can just share with one person, they can just give me, not tell me what to do necessarily, but just say, take your inventory, read the big book, work with a new kind of thing, all of these things, now Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's okay. Do you know what I mean? I haven't got to work it out, overshare with everyone. It's just an incredible thing to have a sponsor, and a sponsor that's just going to tell me what I need to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, not just pussyfoot around me, not just agree with everything and that I think, but it's just going to set me in the right direction. And they want more for me than I can see for myself. And, and so I've had 3 sponsors. So I've had Gail, Catherine and Andy. And, they've all just been hardcore road to recovery, good sponsors. You know what I mean? Like, lovely. I love them all to bits, and I just feel really grateful that I've had that as well. And and like from the life that I had, I just didn't have any aspirations of doing anything. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. It just felt like it was over, AA and what. Do you know what I mean? And then very quickly, just like my life has took off. I went to uni and I was able to, I moved away, and you don't realise what we've got in Plymouth until you haven't got it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm 3 years I went away, and no one ever wanted to meet me for coffee. Do you know what I mean? Like, not once. And, and we're lucky here. Do you know what I mean? You've got it after the meeting 3 nights a week. You just ring anyone, and if people are available, they'll just meet you for coffee. Do you know what I mean? All of these extra things we've got in this home group, just don't take for granted, because not everywhere's like it. There's something special here. And, but, I was able to do that, go on my girls' holidays, just not, and alcohol just hasn't ever, I haven't ever felt like I've needed to drink. And, I just couldn't take any responsibility for my life, for any problems. When I first got the tea commitment, I got fast-tracked. And I can remember getting a text message of Nick Kay, who's not here, saying, you're doing tea, bring the milk. And I rang my sponsor, I've got to bring the milk. And it just seemed like a big deal. Like, I just couldn't handle anything. And that was like a responsibility then. And now, like, I look at my life now and the responsibilities I've got, like my job, I've got like a beautiful little girl, my house, I've got the dog, just like a full and busy life full of like grown-up responsibilities like pensions and mortgages and life insurance, all of those things which seem normal to other people. But for me, I just feel like blown away by it all. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just because I was just such a screw-up that couldn't handle buying the bloody milk before the meeting, to have this life I've got now and not to feel like, do you know what I mean? I don't feel like a complete alien at work. Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of can fit in with other people, and it's because, I just try to maintain what I found. And, I think, like, for the first 9 years of my recovery, amazing. Do you know what I mean? And then I had Ida, and like, almost my priorities change. And we've seen other women, young women, that have gone and died. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they just, or gone and drunk, and the love for their children is not enough to keep them sober. Do you know what I mean? And I just try and remember that my priorities have to be Alcoholics Anonymous, although it's difficult sometimes, getting babysitters twice a week, every week, to get here, to come to a meeting, all those practical things. But I just have to maintain what I've got, because the love that I've got for her is not going to keep me sober in the long run. It might keep me ticking over for a couple of years, and then I don't know what would happen. Do you know what I mean? I just need to maintain what I found here, because the reality of it is that. Do you know what I mean? That, and that's, this home group is just geared up to just like keep you safe. Do you know what I mean? Keep you in the middle. It gives you opportunity to work with newcomers, to sponsor people, to do service, and it's all here. You haven't really got to go out and find it like they did in that, when Bill and Bob are starting Alcoholics Anonymous. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just geared up here for you to just recover, and just being part of something like that blows me away. And just do those things that I did on day one, every day, speak to my sponsor, speak to the other girls, you know what I mean? Just try and think of other people and to maintain what I found here. And I don't always get that right. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like, sometimes I mess up, I don't get my, I don't do service like I used to, all these things, but I just try my best and just maintain what I found. And, if you're new or whatever your present circumstances, do you know what I mean? There's a place in Alcoholics Anonymous for you. If you're beaten by your alcoholism, if you feel as bad as I felt when I got here, that's good. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a solution in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the variety of people here, anyone can recover, from, just get yourself a sponsor, give yourself completely, and I don't know what the time. Got like 2 minutes, and I'd just like to say, thank you. And like 15 years is incredible. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't have stayed sober 15 days, but thanks. But it's from what I've shown in the old timers in this meeting. Do you know what I mean? I've just followed those that have gone before me, and thank you very much.
Evening, I'm Mike and I'm an alcoholic. Very nervous alcoholic. 3 wonderful speakers there, and I'm thinking, how do you follow that? And I've got my sponsor's voice in my head going, you better be good tonight, you better be good. It's kind of weird, because the last time that I was stood up here, and I was sharing from here, I think I started off telling you the little story that I'd just been to the doctors that day, and he'd give me a little examination, and his conclusion was, he said, you're very twisted, Mike. And I've just been to the doctors again today. The same guy who's examined me again today, and he summed it up. He said, you're definitely not right. You're definitely... How cool is that? I've got that one for tonight. Well, it says in the big book, actually, it does say somewhere in there, there's a little line, something like, doctors are rightly loath to tell them, and I thought, this bloke's pulling no punches, is he? You're twisted, there's something wrong with you. But he was talking about me back, but basically, that does sum me up. I'm twisted. There's not something wrong. There's not, that I'm not right. I'm definitely not right. And I knew that for years and years and years. I knew I was not right. Something was going on. I started drinking, and it was fun. It was just what people do. You have a drink, and teenage years and stuff like that. I was having fun. It was great. It was wonderful. I knew I drunk right from the off. I drank differently from my mates, but I just seemed to enjoy it more than they did. A bit later on, it started to become more of a bit of a problem for me. That was all. It was a bit of a problem. I was recognising that. But then as it went on, I started recognising more and more that it was more than just a bit of a problem. There's something wrong with me. Ben said it, I was drinking when I didn't want to drink. And that was happening with me, that I seemed to be drinking it. I just had this immense skill of getting drunk at the wrong times. Something would be coming up, something important that I needed to be sober for, and I just seemed to get drunk. It just seemed to happen time and time and time again. There was times when I wanted to do right with my daughter. I'd make plans with her. I'm going to do something. We're going to go to pictures. We are going to go to pictures. And, right, tomorrow, we're going to do it tomorrow. It was always tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. And I'd get up in the morning and I'd think, well, just have a couple of cans just to take the edge off of things. And I'd end up blind drunk. I'd spend the money that I'm going to take her to the pictures with. I'm blind drunk. I've done it again, and we'll go tomorrow. And this just seemed to keep happening and happening and happening. And I didn't know what was wrong. And I started looking for help. And the first place I went to, they directed me here. You're having a laugh. This is the last place that I want to be. Sat in a room in a church hall with a bunch of drunks. You got to be kidding. I do not want to be there. So, Mick talked about self-will. I run around. I'm not going to listen to these people sitting in there. What do they know? They don't understand. So I started looking for help in a lot of different places. I bounced around all over the place. And it was good people that I was talking to, very good people. Unfortunately for me, they didn't understand my problem. I'd go in, I'd get detoxes in places, and they just didn't seem to understand my problem, because they all kept saying, go to meetings, Mike, get a sponsor, work the what's the matter with you people? Like Mick said again, I'm not like that. I do not need to go to those meetings. They talk a load of rubbish. They're talking about drink, which makes me want to have a drink, for God's sake, It's just not for me. It's just not for me. And that's how it went for 10 years. I bounced around all over the place, looking for a solution to a problem that I had, that I didn't know what the problem was. I was so confused. I was so baffled. I knew I had a problem, but I wasn't really sure what the problem was. Okay, I'm drinking too much, and I'm drinking it in inappropriate times and inappropriate places, but it's everything else. I drink to give me that relief, and I realised today how true that is. That was true, but I didn't understand it at the time. I was going into these places, as I was saying, they was telling me to come along to the meetings, and I'd come into the meetings, I'd sit down, I'd have a listen, I'd get up and I'd walk out, especially when the word God got mentioned, right? It's not for me, I found another one of those meetings where they want to talk about God. So I'd be off again, and that's how it went for 10 years. I just got worse and I got worse and I got worse. And, one of the stories that I've got of like the type of thinking that I've got, the trickery that goes on in my head. I've been in this place and I've done another detox, and I'm getting set up this time to go to a self-help group. And all I've got to do is stay sober for 5 days. That's all I've got to do, 5 days. And I'm thinking, well, that's going to be difficult, but I'm sure I can manage it. But in between, it was my sister's birthday, and I went to the pub with her, and it was going well. It was going really well. I was convinced I'm not going to have a drink tonight. Not even a shandy. I've tried that one before. I have a shandy and something sets off. So I was starting to get this understanding. Something sets off and I want to drink then. So I'm going to leave it all alone. I'll have a Coke. And it got to 10 to 11 in the evening. I thought, I've done blinding. I've done brilliant. I've done absolutely wonderful. This is a doddle. It's 10 to 11. Last orders. I'll just have one. I can't have any more because it's 10 to 11. And that was it. I was gone. Another year had gone out of my life. You know, I had that one drink. Never mind it's the last order. I'm going to get some drink from somewhere. I was on the phone with this guy, you know, he's doing this run over to France and getting the alcohol. I owed him hundreds of pounds. When I sort of come round, I didn't even know I'd spent this much money with him. You know, I was in blackout, waking up with the DTs. I mean, the end result of it was a year was gone out of my life. I'm living in a shed, and I'm thinking, how did that happen? How did that happen? You know, one drink, 10 to 11, one drink. So I'm back in a detox, and they're saying again, told you, yeah, all right, smart ass, yeah. They kept telling me, unless you go and you work this 12-step program, unless you do that, the luckiest thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to end up back somewhere like this. You know, that's if you're lucky. A lot of people die. A lot of people die from the illness you've got. And I was thinking, that's a bit harsh, you know, come on, I die from this illness. But I just didn't understand. There were certain things that I was picking up. There was certain self-knowledge that I was acquiring, but it meant absolutely nothing. What I learned when I got here, I was directed to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I got a sponsor for the first time, bouncing in and out for 10 years. For the first time, I got a sponsor, and he said, buy one of those books. I said, well, I don't need that. I've got one of these books. He said, buy that book. Buy that book. That's what you need to do. You need to start reading that book. You need to start taking the actions that is presented in there. There's some simple rules that you need to follow if you want to stay sober and if you want to be happy. And I wasn't up for it, really. I mean, in my head, it was, I mean, just before I got here, it was a guy come round and see me. You know, I'd been in treatment with him, and he was as barking mad as I was. You know, I knew this guy inside out, exactly the same as me. But he come and visited me, and it was a different person. It was like a different man. You know, I've since seen it in the big book. You know, there was something in his eyes. It was something different about him. I said, well, you know, what are you doing? He said, well, I've gone to the meetings, mate, like I said, and I've got this sponsor, and I've started working this 12 steps. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. Here's another one. You know, I've been hearing that for years. But there was something in this guy. You know, there had been a fundamental change, and he was only on step 4. You know, I said, what's going on? What is going on? And he said, come along to the meeting. And the headspace I was in at the time, I was a bit of a suicide nut. You know, the only way I'd seen out of this was attempting suicide. So they kept putting me in the nut house and that, 24-hour suicide watch, very embarrassing. Going to the toilet with the door open and they're watching you. You know, all that sort of stuff was going on with me. And, you know, the thought come in again. If that's it, if that's what I've got to do, go and sit in their meetings. I've got to do this 12-step thing. I've got to go and listen to another guy and do what he's telling me to do. Suicide. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute. And I flipped a coin. I thought, well, Ed's, I'll go for the suicide. Tells, I'll go to the meeting. So it come up for the tells to go to the meeting. I thought, well, best of 3. You know, and I mean, it's amusing, and it's amusing to me now, but at the time, it was a serious, you know, decision I was making here, you know. Suicide did seem the better option for me. But thank God, you know, the coin come up, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. So I came along, I sat down, I didn't hear a word what was said that night. My head was going, most of it was, shut up, mate, sit down, don't move, just get a sponsor, just get one of these sponsors. Sitting on my hands, shaking. I went and seen the secretary at the end of the night. I got one of these sponsors, and he gave me some suggestions. He said to me, are you prepared to go into any lengths? And I'm like, yeah. I'm nodding in the right places, and I think it depends. Depends what you ask me to do, you know. And he gave me some suggestions, you know. Our other sharers talked about it, and he was telling me, get to the meeting early, get involved, start helping out. He was getting me involved in service, you know. Get out on the doorstep, shake people's hands. You know, start thinking of other people. It seemed a bit sort of drastic, you know. And then pray and write the ground. He was giving me guidance. He was giving me guidance on starting me on the program. And he said, this will change you. Despite what you think, if you work this program, then you will change despite yourself. You know, people were talking about it. John, you've got a mate, Wayne. So John used to share about this obsession going on in his head was removed. It got lifted. and that was hooking me. When I was hearing him sharing that, I was thinking, I can identify with that thinking keep going on in my head. I seem to have two thoughts going on in my head. I've got this one side that's going, don't do it again, Mike. Don't have a drink. You have a drink, you know what happens. And there's this little voice starts talking to me. Well, we want to be all right. And it starts getting louder and louder. It just pushes the other voice out of my head. And all of a sudden, I'm convincing myself, one way or another, I'm tricking myself into picking up that drink. And John was sort of talking about that sort of stuff and saying it's been removed. I'll have some of that. So anyway, I got this sponsor, and I started doing these suggestions that just seemed weird. Just seemed absolutely weird. I was convinced, to be honest, it's that weird that this guy is just giving me the weirdest things he can think of to do, because he said, will you go to any lengths? Let's see if he does this. If he does this and he comes back and says, yeah, I don't know, right, okay, right, now this is what you've really got to do. But he didn't move from it. He didn't move. He just said, just do this on a daily basis. Things will start to improve. My experience was, when I started to do that, when I started to follow his guidance, the very simple instructions that he gave me to do, from day one, I could only do half of them because it was the evening time. I did half of them, and I just got this overwhelming feeling. 10 years of bouncing in and out of everywhere, always I had this niggling thing of, I know I'm going to drink. And the longer it went on, the more I was convinced, well, I've been here before. I know I'm going to drink. This was the first time ever I got this overwhelming feeling of, I'm going to be all right. Something's different. Something feels different. I'm on the right path. And it encouraged me. It encouraged me to carry on doing what he was suggesting me to do. And he started taking me through the program, and it's saying about the God business and praying. I didn't know what to pray to, and he said, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. I've got enough faith for both of us. I don't care if you believe in anything or not. Put these actions in, you're going to get the results. And as I say, I got the results day one. Things started to change for me. And he started taking me through the program. Joe talked there about the step 4 and how she could see herself and things. This guy gave me this list, and he said, this is what I used, and I had things like arrogance, and I was like, well, he's arrogant, but I'm not. Dishonesty. No, I'll tell you the truth, mate. I'll tell you what your problem is. I'm not dishonest. I'm the most honest person. I'll tell you all what's the matter with you. I just didn't grasp what these defects were really, until I started doing these actions. He showed me precisely what he had done. He laid it out, said that this is what I've done. Go away, have a look. Bring back a page. Let me see that you're on the right track. And it wasn't very long before all of a sudden I started seeing, well, basically the nature of my illness. What I said earlier about, the drink not really being the problem. I could start seeing what the problem was. It was my intolerance. It was my self-pity. It was my pride. How dare they treat me like this? How dare that happen to me? Why ain't the world treating me better? Why ain't this happening? Why? Everything was a why with me. The dishonesty was rife in me. It was always pointing the finger out. As Joe said, and I could start seeing the nature of my illness. With all this stuff going on in me, life was so uncomfortable, so unbearable, that drink became my release valve. I couldn't put up with a world with that type of thinking that's going on, and I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it myself until I started working these steps, and it started becoming apparent. There was one day when real sort of eye opener for me. The bus came along, and I stuck my hand out, and this guy's just looked at me, and he just drove by, and normally a brick would have been through the back window. That's the type of guy I am. I'm a walking reaction. How dare he do that? He's seen me. But it was surreal. The first thought that popped into my head, along with a smile, amazing miracles happened. I smiled. This little thought come up in my head was, well, that's only your pride. That's only your pride. And I mean, that may sound a bit weird for newcomers. That may sound like, I don't know what he's quite talking about. Get yourself a sponsor and start taking these steps, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of reacting, the thoughts started coming in of, that's your pride, mate. That is just your intolerance, it's your pride. And I started seeing where this guy was talking to me about an amazing fundamental change has happened, a complete psychic change through the 12 steps. But a psychic change was happening already with this guy when he was on step 4, and it was happening for me as well. You know, all this business about, I do not want to be in these meetings, I don't want to listen to another guy. It ain't for me, the program. I mean, Ben said it, you know, the only thing in there that I recognise is alcohol. What are you talking? Moral inventory? You know, making restitution for harms done. It's everybody else that should be saying sorry for me. I'd started doing this stuff, and it started making sense once I started doing it. You know, it didn't make sense beforehand, but once I started doing it, the miracles started happening for me. The change started happening. You know, you get a copy of our basic text. It says in there about the ideas, the emotions, and the attitudes that are the driving force behind somebody like me. You know, that's what's always going to have me in collision course with the world, everybody. You know, and the only ease and comfort that I'm going to get is picking up a drink. You know, and what I needed was a complete psychic change. And I didn't know how to do that. And these guys did. You know, I used the experience of the people that were here. They said, this is what we've done. If you do precisely what we've done, if you're prepared to go to any length, take these 12 steps, this psychic change will happen with you. Despite what you think, despite yourself, it will happen. And that started out, it was happening from day one, as I said. And you know, these guys were saying, it gets increasingly more wonderful as time passes. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm going to smack him one in a minute. He's saying it to wind me up, you know. Weird, isn't it? Eh? Weird, the alcoholic. Eh? Some guy is, you know, Dave Kay, you know, wonderful man there, wonderful man. I'm coming to the meetings and, you know, man, I'm constantly seeing work when you come in. He's there, he's got his hand out to me, welcoming me in. He's doing the right things. He wants me to recover. You know, his hand's out to me. Mike, come on in. Good to see you, son. Son, I'll knock him. And I'm threatening to knock the guy out, you know. There's a man who stood here, who's gone through what I've gone through, knows the type of thinking. He's got the same illness as me. He's taken actions that's given him full recovery. And he's going, I want to give this to you. And I'm thinking, I'm going to knock him out, you know. It's a strange world of alcoholism, you know. But, you know, he was my first amends, actually. But that was the kind of distorted thinking that I had. You know, I couldn't see the life-saving stuff that these people were presenting to me. Time and time and time again, I'd sit here, you know, I was doing it, but my own personal experience, I was sitting here absolutely hating the meetings for 3 months. I was loving not being in there, doing this stuff, because I'm getting on with life, I'm meeting up with people, I'm smiling. All these wonderful things were starting to happen. And for some strange reason, I just didn't want to be here for an hour and a half. You know, it's driving me up the wall. He's going to say that, and she's going to say that. And he said that last week. And what I wasn't getting was, they ain't saying this for me no more. I've got this solution. What they're doing is they're practicing exactly what it says in that book. They're carrying this message to the alcoholic that still suffers. It wasn't about me anymore. I had the solution. If I wanted to use it, then that was up to me. If I didn't, that was up to me as well. I had a sponsor that was going to guide me. He was going to take me through the 12 steps. These people were saying it for the benefit of the new person. You know, I was stood there in the phone box phoning up my sponsor. I hate the meetings. I hate her and I hate him. I hate everyone in there. And the guy stopped me dead. He said, Mike, why are you still going? Why are you still going? And my thinking don't actually go that far. It really don't. I don't get to the point of why am I still. I'm just getting to the point of I hate him and I hate her. That's what I know. That's where I'm stopping. And it say stop me in my tracks, and I had to think about it. And why am I still going? Why? The only answer I could come up with was it's working. It's working. For the first time in my life, I had found something that had removed that obsession, that had removed that thinking that was going to trick me time and time and time again into picking up that drink. That's why I was coming. I wasn't coming to listen to you lot. I was coming here to do what I was told to do. Give this away. If you want to keep it, give it away. Stop being selfish. Selfishness and self-centeredness is the root of my problem. The book tells me that. I believe all that stuff in the book now, you know. That's my problem. I'm selfish to the extreme. I need to start thinking of other people, especially I need to start thinking of the other alcoholic. I need to be stood here saying, if you want recovery, if you want what we've got, then you will do what we've done. And there's plenty of people in this room that have got the experience that will be able to take you through these 12 steps. And this business about God, this nonsense that they all kept talking to me about for years, that actually happened for me as well. Something started happening where I was getting these coincidences. That's a coincidence. These good things, coincidence happen. And it just became so many coincidences in my life that this is just too much of a coincidence for it to be a coincidence. Something is working. I'm getting on my knees and I'm praying to something. I don't know what I'm praying to. I'm praying for a sober day. I'm getting on my knees at the end of it and I'm giving thanks for a sober day. And it started developing. It started growing and growing and growing with me. I was promised. The whole point of that book was to introduce me to a higher power. And that's exactly what it's done. I've got to practice on a daily basis. I've got to practice the principles of this program to the best of my ability. I don't always get it right. But I've got to do this. I've got to develop a conscious contact with a higher power and improve on that on a daily basis if I want to stay sober. If I want what these people are telling me, life gets increasingly more wonderful as time passes, then I've got to do these things. I choose to do these things because I get the benefit out of them. It's an absolutely wonderful life on offer here. People were telling me this for a long time. Thank you. People were telling me this for a long time, and I just couldn't hear it. I was defiant to the core. I wasn't going to do what you was telling me to do. I was speaking with a guy before the meeting started, and we was talking about step one, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this. We was talking about step one and whether it's a loss of step one if I want to change my sponsor, and basically what I was sharing my own experience on that. I need to be able to look to a guy and say whether I believe what you're saying or not, whether I like what you're saying or not, I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do, exactly what you want me to do, because I want to live. I want this happy life. If I can't listen to my sponsor, if I can't trust him for whatever reason, then I need to change sponsors. I've got the best sponsor in the world. This man can tell me anything. He can tell me to go and say sorry to people and I'll go and do it. Nobody else could do that. Nobody. So what I would suggest is, get yourself a temporary sponsor, whatever. But while this is all happening, get in a good atmosphere and start doing this stuff. But look for somebody that you can just have that much humility that you're going to do precisely what they tell you to do. They're going to give you some instructions out of that book. My sponsor gives me experience of his life. This is a personal opinion. I don't hold with it's all got to come out of that book or don't listen to him. I look to my sponsor he's been living this program. I want his advice on all sorts of things. If he says to me, well, it's up to you, Mike, but I would turn left, I turn left. End of story. I want to follow in this man's footsteps because I found such a wonderful life on offer in it. God directs me. I've got that conscious contact with God, but I need to check certain things out with the sponsor. A wonderful, wonderful life's on offer. Grab yourself a sponsor tonight, and it can start tonight. And I'm going to leave it there. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Sobercast is ad-free, and we'd like your help in order to keep it that way. So if you'd like to help us be self-supporting by pledging $1 or $2 a month, visit Sobercast.com and look for the donate links. Thank you very much.